The rain had just started when Daniel Hayes stepped out of his sleek black car and stared at the glowing lights of the city across the street. People hurried past him with umbrellas, laughter, and busy conversations, but Daniel felt strangely still, like the world was moving while he remained trapped in the same moment. In exactly 3 days, his ex-fiancée, the woman he once planned to marry, would be walking down the aisle with someone else. And to make matters worse, she had personally invited him to the wedding. Not just invited him, she insisted he come. Bring a date, she had said with a calm smile during their last conversation. Daniel knew exactly why. She wanted to show him that she had moved on. And Daniel Hayes, the confident millionaire CEO who controlled billion-dollar deals and hundreds of employees, suddenly felt like a helpless spectator in his own life. That evening he sat in a quiet cafe near his office, staring blankly at his phone. His assistant had already tried to arrange a date, models, influencers, even a socialite, but every option felt fake, forced, like a business transaction rather than a real moment. Daniel sighed and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. Why does this even matter? He muttered to himself. Yet deep down he knew the answer. Pride. Memories. Closure. Maybe all three. Across the cafe, near the window, a young woman sat alone with a notebook and a cup of coffee. She looked nothing like the glamorous women Daniel usually met at high-profile events. Her hair was slightly messy, tied loosely as if she didn't care much about appearances. She wore a simple sweater, and there was something calm and genuine about the way she quietly scribbled in her notebook. She occasionally paused, staring outside at the rain as if she were thinking deeply about something. Daniel didn't know why, but his eyes kept drifting toward her. At one point, the waiter accidentally bumped into her table, spilling a bit of coffee. Instead of getting angry, she simply laughed softly and helped clean the mess herself. Daniel watched this small moment with curiosity. Most people he knew would have complained loudly or demanded compensation. But she smiled as if the mistake didn't matter at all. Something about her felt different. Daniel stood up before he could overthink it. He walked toward her table, his expensive shoes making soft sounds against the cafe floor. When he reached her, she looked up with slightly surprised eyes. For a brief second, Daniel forgot what he was about to say. "Hi," he said finally, clearing his throat. "I know this is going to sound strange." The girl raised an eyebrow but smiled politely. "Strange usually makes life interesting. Go ahead." Daniel almost laughed. No one had ever responded to him like that. People were usually either nervous around him or overly impressed when they recognized who he was. But she seemed completely relaxed, as if he were just another stranger. "I need a date for a wedding," Daniel said. The girl blinked, then stared at him for a moment before bursting into quiet laughter. "That's definitely strange." "I'm serious," Daniel added quickly. "I'll explain everything." She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms playfully. "So let me get this straight. A random guy walks up to me in a cafe and asks me to attend a wedding with him." "Yes." "And you think I'll just say yes?" Daniel hesitated. For the first time in a long while, he felt uncertain. "Probably not," he admitted. The girl studied his face carefully, as if trying to figure out whether he was joking. After a few seconds, she sighed and closed her notebook. "All right," she said. "Explain." Daniel sat down across from her and told her the story. He told her about the wedding, about his ex-fiancée, and about how he didn't want to show up alone. Surprisingly, he didn't mention his wealth or status. For once, Daniel Hayes simply spoke like a normal man dealing with an awkward situation. The girl listened quietly, occasionally nodding. When he finished, she tapped her fingers lightly on the table. "So basically," she said slowly, "you need someone to pretend to be your date so you don't look lonely in front of your ex." Daniel sighed. "When you say it like that, it sounds pathetic." She smiled. "It's honest." For a moment, silence filled the space between them. Then she shrugged casually. "All right. I'll do it." Daniel blinked in disbelief. "Wait, really?" "Yes," she said simply. "Life is boring lately. This sounds like a story worth experiencing." Daniel couldn't help but laugh. "You're serious?" "Completely." "What's your name?" "Emma," she replied. And you? Daniel hesitated for half a second. Daniel. She offered her hand with a warm smile. Nice to meet you, Daniel. I guess I'm your wedding date now. But as Daniel shook her hand, something unexpected happened. He couldn't stop staring at her. It wasn't just her appearance, it was the calm confidence in her eyes, the way she spoke without trying to impress anyone. She seemed real in a world full of masks. Emma noticed his gaze and tilted her head slightly. Why are you staring? Daniel quickly looked away, embarrassed. Sorry. I just wasn't expecting you to say yes. Emma laughed softly. Trust me, Daniel. I wasn't expecting to say yes either. Outside, the rain continued falling gently against the cafe windows. Neither of them realized that this random moment, this simple conversation between two strangers, was about to change both of their lives in ways they could never imagine. And Daniel Hayes, the man who believed he understood people perfectly, had no idea that the girl sitting across from him was hiding a story far more surprising than his own. If you enjoyed this story and want to see what happens next between Daniel and Emma, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next chapters will reveal shocking secrets, unexpected emotions, and a journey that will completely change their lives.